And then these guys have had their own curiosity conversations this week.
Could I ask you to just share briefly, why did this class come about, or what are you doing in these 5 weeks?
So we are really stealing a good thing from both Brophy, Cooper Davis at Brophy, who helped to pilot some of the Enora stuff, and then also the fellowship work that I got a chance to start doing last year in the fall and October. And then I was able to do, so I did it personally, and I got to do it with the students that Henrik worked with and App worked with in the springtime in fellowship 13, I think, was it 13? And then we were able to kind of merge those structures, as you guys are familiar with them, into a class at SLU. So this is we're calling it Ignatian Leadership and Integral Ecology is what we're calling our course. But these guys are helping me run it and beta test it. And
amazing. There's some pioneers here in the space. That's good. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
But today is about telling some stories and sharing some stories. We are, let's say, in an informal space here, so bear with us as we figure out what way to take it. Okay. Do you have something to share, Ollie?
2 experiences of gratitude-based learning. Part 1 is you start with the situation, right? The situation in this example is that Henrik lives by a dirty river and it frustrates him. Can I use this story, Henrik?
Absolutely,
Great.
Go for it.
The second part is how you apply GBL. So he took GBL and was able to see that just because the river was dirty, he still found that the sound of the river was soothing. And the third step is changing your behavior. So by using the sounds of the river that soothed his nerves, it was able to allow him to open his mind and find a new perspective. Step 4 is, with his open mind, he had an idea of how to use a contact in the government to talk about making a change with the river. And then the 5th step, take action. So energized from his new sense of calm and armed with his new idea, Henrik was able to take action, to call a friend to see if they could do something that might start making change. So that's the format of the story. And Henrik, being a leader in GBL, is a great example. Now I will tell my own story. The first is I was invited to participate in a game show, which had a humongous prize. And the only problem is that I didn't have a passport, that it just expired. And so I declined the game show, even though I really wanted to be on it. So I used GBL, step 2, to be grateful to have been selected and invited in the first place for this awesome opportunity. And from a place of gratitude, step 3, I was able to reframe my mind and see that this was an opportunity to give something my all and not to shut myself out of it. So with a changed mind, I was able to think I could still do everything I could to get onto it instead of giving up, and feeling like this was an opportunity for me to try my best at something, even if that just meant trying to get on the show. The final action I took was I submit all the other paperwork, even though I might not make it, because at least I am doing everything I can. And so I can sit a lot better with that result instead of just feeling sad that I gave up.
Let's just take that just a moment here and take that in, right? What I would see here really happening is that internal shift. Instead of being, let's say, bugged or down or negative or frustrated, right? It is that mental shift that allows for, wow, there's actually an opportunity here, whether you take the action or not, but you go about things differently. And you have that shift in your energy. Discover more options, and whether they bear fruit or not, but at least we have had a much more positive experience and engagement. That's what I'm picking here that I find is important, right?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely feel much lighter about it. If I was thinking about it the other day, I would have been like, oh man, I feel bad. I feel disappointed in myself. But now I did everything I could. Second story. This is called the Gratitude Game Show story. And this is really related to Enora. So the situation is that I have been doing content creation for Enora for the last 2.5 months. And it has been very challenging for me to find and create GBL content that worked. So applying GBL this week, I was able to realize that even though this is an assignment and a goal that I'm struggling to achieve, I got to realize this is also an opportunity for me to explore and express my own creativity. Thinking and changing my behavior, step 3, I got to think about how this opportunity is so wonderful, and I could approach the subject from a different creative angle and instead think about what would be the most fun. The result is, from this perspective, I was able to take what worked for me that I already knew I could do well and just add GBL into it when I'm talking about content. And so the action I took was yesterday, I took a bunch of signs and I went out to the beach and I set up a table and I wrote on the sign, "Gratitude Game Show." And I used the experiences that I had with Henrik and the rest of the Nora team to create something that I think was gratitude related. I had people play a gratitude game where they tried to dig deep and come up with a little bit of ripples, and it was just fantastic. So I'm very excited to go into this next video, where for the last ones I was just hoping it would work.
Wow, a little bit of inspiration, right? And a little bit of support and a little bit of going about. You actually end up out there on the street or on the beach or somewhere and interacting with people and having an amazing experience. At least that's what I'm hearing. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
so
it was.
Do you have something in video shape or form that you would like to share at this moment?
Let's see. I probably can share something, but it's definitely in its rough form. Okay, so it looks like on Google, I'm not able to share the audio of anything that's not in Google Chrome, which makes sense. But I still can share this screen, and you can see. But so this is me. I'm out on the beach, and I have a table and a sign that says "Gratitude Game Show." They would come and they would sit down and share. So I had each person write down 5 things that they were grateful for about each other and share it, and using GBL. And so what I would do is I'd give someone $1 for everything they said that they'd already shared before that the other person heard, and $2 for everything they shared that they had never shared before. That they said. And so this guy, so we're 5 answers in, and this is the last one, and he's reading it off his phone. And I tell him he has to make eye contact with her this time because he's been reading them off his phone. And so he's saying, "I'm grateful you always make my day when you smile. And whenever I see you and when you get in the car, it makes my day. If I'm having a bad day, it makes it a lot better." And here she just starts crying. It's just such a beautiful moment.
Sure.
And then we talk about how he's never said that before. And she's never heard him say something like that. And it's such a simple thing to say. And he says, well, he doesn't really talk about his feelings too much, and just getting to see how happy it makes his partner.
Right.
He thinks he might express gratitude a little bit more. And it was just such a beautiful moment. And I got to have that moment multiple times.
Congratulations, Ollie. Wow, it's amazing. I saw, Denise, you put something in the chat that you have a grandson that would like to share some gratitude.
Let me ask him to come over 1 sec.
Hi,
Hello. What's your name?
Reed.
Reed? All right.
Hey, Reed.
Welcome. What's something you're grateful for?
My family.
Why is that?
Because they take care of me.
Oh, boy. And what happens because they take care of you?
What does that mean?
Because mom and dad take care of you, what kind of life do you get to have?
A great life.
So because you get to have a good life, what do you think you're able to do?
Good things.
It's as simple as that because you have a good family, you get a chance to do some good stuff in this world. How does that make you feel?
Good.
Beautiful. How old are you?
8.
Isn't that a big boy? To be able to give a testimonial like that. Give him some applause.
Thank you, Reed.
Thank you for joining.
Job.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Bye,
guys.
Bye,
Thank
Reed.
you.
But Anne-Marie, you guys were also doing a video I saw.
What are you grateful for exactly?
I'm grateful for my father.
Why are you grateful for him?
I'm grateful for my father because he takes me and does fun stuff with me.
How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel really special and appreciated.
And when you feel special and appreciated, what do you do?
I perform better in school, and I'm more happy.
What happens when you perform better in school?
I get better grades.
And what happens when you get better grades?
I'm able to graduate.
What is your goal in life?
Graduate college and get a good job and family.
And getting good grades will help you get into college and get a good life?
Yes.
What was it like doing this little exercise?
It was pretty fun.
And would you be able to go out and do this with somebody else? Let's say you guys are practicing here between one another, right? And that's where we need to start, right? But do you feel like if you were to go out and connect with a friend or family or neighbor or somebody, could you look for those ripples?
Yeah, I think so.
And what would happen if you did that?
They'd probably like realize like something they're more grateful for and probably like more greatly appreciated.
Something would happen in their space, but something would happen in your space as well, just because you go out and connect, right?
Yeah.
What do you think what would that be?
I think I would feel like more fulfilled because I could help them and then also get something out of it.
Thank you so much for sending this in and sharing.
What is something that you're grateful for?
Something that I'm grateful for are my 2 dogs that I have at my home.
What are you grateful for because of your 2 dogs?
I'm grateful for my 2 dogs because they're very kind to me and they allow me to play with them.
What are you grateful for because they play with you?
It allows me to get some exercise out and I'm able to go out and do things with them.
What are you grateful for being able to go outside and exercise?
The exercise helps me to get blood flowing and feel a little bit more excited and happy.
What makes you grateful for having your good blood flow after playing with your dogs?
It helps me to feel like more happy and a little bit more at peace, I would say, and in a better state of mind.
So you're saying because of your 2 dogs, you're able to feel more at peace and happy? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Who was the guy interviewing? What was it like to be able to ask these questions and do this little exercise?
It was cool finding more about him. Like I didn't know any of that I didn't know that he had 2 dogs and that he's very happy.
Isn't that amazing? Discovering something new, huh? So maybe let's ask Ollie, if you were to pick something here that you would like to highlight, as this was something to build on, to make better, the good stuff, and where's something that, if we had to try to do this again, what would we do different? And I'm not picking this one out of the 3 for any particular reason, simply because of the exercise of, hey, let's look at what's here, something that celebrate both flow and friction.
Well, one of the things I think that we are making better is that it's easy to get people involved, right? One of the things that I think is the most important thing for participation is lower barriers to entry and also fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it can be challenging to find fun sometimes when you don't get to see other people sharing in the space or where it's too difficult. And that's why I'm really excited as we keep iterating this and making the stories easier to share. And part of the thing is always having a challenge that inspires you to try something new, and that you also get to see where other people are. And I'm excited to see where we bring fun and humor and joy into these things. So yeah, why don't we try that as the challenge for next week's Film Fest or Fun Fest or whatever we call it. Somehow making a gratitude game. And so that means it can be a film, but it also can be a story.
The point is try to go out and find those stories for where something we connected with somebody, right? Change that in a state. We saw a connection between where something was at the beginning, and that could, if you want to challenge yourself, find something that you disapprove of or you're having friction about. Okay, that's a really good challenge. But try to look for that positive thing in something that's whatever you'd call it, bad or negative. Challenge yourself or that person that you're interacting with to try to look for those positive ripples there. Okay, and you might really see a change in energy happen. That's just a suggestion, and you really want to challenge yourself. Do we have more stories here? I know at least that we have a storyteller between us, Paul. So good to see you connecting down from Chile.
First of all, I wasn't really going to say anything because I've had a really bad toothache for the last couple of weeks. But once I realized how this was going, I figured well, right. I'll talk about my trip to the dentist. I went to the dentist a couple of weeks ago, and then had to get antibiotics so she could remove a tooth. No, I don't have many teeth now, but anyway, take it out. She took the tooth, which I was grateful for, of course. But then next couple of days, an infection developed really bad. It was over the way I could get it done. I went to the dentist on a Monday. Well, actually, I went to the emergency department because the dentists were not supposed to be taking emergency cases. So I went to the emergency department. Doctor gave me some sort of antibiotic in a IV, and then contacted the dentist on duty, who happened to be the old dentist. Well, not old, but the dentist we're used to, who I hadn't seen for a while. And he said, sure, send him. So I went into there, and then he started to work on my teeth. And then he happened to mention that I have two choices. I can have it taken out, or he can do a root canal. Now, that's an odontist, that's a specialist. And I didn't realize in the process of not seeing for a while, he could do a root canal to it. So then he gave me two types of antibiotics. And out of interest, why two? And then he said, well, one is for bacteria that consumes oxygen, and the other is for bacteria that doesn't consume oxygen. So that was educating. And then he, gave me a whole bunch of stuff, and I came back. Well, I'm still taking ibuprofen, but I've not been in significant pain. So first of all, I would like to express extreme gratitude to the dentist. I would also like to express extreme gratitude to the fact that I don't have to pay for it. Fantastic. I would also like to mention, because we're talking about gratitude, I'd like to mention GBL to me something like gratitude based on living. Because when I was walking around the planet planting trees, then I didn't have any major sponsors. In fact, I had no sponsors, but my sponsors were the people I met along the way. Obviously, they kept me alive, so I was extremely grateful. And I found that in order to receive, of course, to give. And the giving is really simple. As an example, that if I walked into a town after walking many kilometers, sleeping under a bush in some harsh environment, because I never carried a tent, and then walking into a town where I wanted to plant trees and wanted to meet people, I realized that if I turned up all grumpy, nobody would me. So I rapidly found out that, hey, you turn up and you smile and you be happy. And then what that is generate support. And because of that simple thing, I was then able to, I would arrive into places, most times with absolutely nothing. Nobody knew I was coming. Say on a Friday. And by the time I left on a Monday, I would have planted trees, been on television, done all sorts of interviews, spoken at a school, maybe a university, and I'd be on my way again. So gratitude is, for me, also a gift, because it's the gift of giving. And when you give, you receive, and therefore you are grateful for what you are receiving, and it goes around and it spreads. I personally think that this is great what I'm hearing here. And for me, like seeing how it's moving along is pretty exciting, because I must admit, up until today, I didn't really get what it was you were doing. Now I can understand how far it is reaching.
And just for you guys, Paul, he used to walk all the way from across continents simply with that purpose of planting trees all over. And if you go to earthwalker.com, you can see so many amazing stories from his life that's been, I dare say, a bit extraordinary.
Thank you to the tree, thank you to the earth, because that tree is going to give something to somebody, and so therefore it deserves to be thanked. And I think that it should be a major part of life is to give thanks to the earth. We need to exist.
Let's elaborate on that.
Because it makes me happy, and it makes everyone else happy when plant trees. That's the thing I noticed. When sometimes you get serious politicians turning up. Been at some meeting, they've got a long face, it's good PR, and so they turn up and they've got this long face and everything. But I noticed wherever they left, everybody was happy and they were chatting and coming away laughing. So looking to the for gratitude is also a very good thing.
I think there's something there, right? Because this, let's say, attitude or this emotion or this cheering up or this being a little bit more relaxed, having a bit more fun, how important that is. If we take today and climate change and whatever's going on, it's a very negative energy. So many trees planted, but I don't think it was on a negative note.
No, 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 no. I didn't come into town with any negative message. When I would speak anyway, I would spend 90% of the time talking about the beauty of the planet and 10% of the time talking about destruction in order to explain why I'm wandering around the planet, talking about the beauty of it and planting the trees. Obviously, I understand what's going on in the planet right now. And, you know, I can look at it like, oh my God, you know, and what can I do? Or I can just go out and do something real simple. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're doing something to help. I feel happy. You know, all you can do is do your best. And if you do that, you know, I'll to bed at night and you can sleep. And I think that's very, very...
Well, I just
Barbara.
wanted to say that, bring attention to the fact that what we have heard here today is just wonderful. First of all, having Orly and what he created, taking Gratitude GBL out and creating a game show and doing all of that, that just shows that this is the beginning of, there's no end to one's imagination of how to get this message out. The vulnerability of creating that with the dollars, the incentive, and what happens when people actually start being vulnerable and honest and sharing their gratitude for another person is just, it's unlimited to the possibilities of what can happen from that. All you guys in the class, you were upping your brave, you put yourself out there, you asked the questions. This is the beginning of something that you can take for the rest of your lives. You're learning skills that will benefit you on so many different levels. And you guys can create anything from here. You can learn how to make films, you can learn how to make content, you can learn how to really start from a place of gratitude, which transcends everything. It's almost like spreading the love. You're actually spreading the gratitude, which is a language that leads to love. So I just wanted to acknowledge all of you. I think it's absolutely amazing. This week, I actually was talking to a gentleman and he was in his 70s. He said, I am grateful that I am sober, which then led to the multitude of other things. The ripple effects that came out were extraordinary because he acknowledged. Now, that's just one of an older man who had was an alcoholic and watched his whole life fall apart. But I started to also look at the things that I could be grateful for in my week, which was a very difficult week. From all of the learnings that I have learned here, I literally took all of these things and challenges that happened to me, and I turned them around to, they were all meant for me from the universe to learn something for which I am so grateful. So as lessons in life, when bad things happen, when you can literally see the bad thing, make it through, and then go, what's the benefit? Where can I be grateful for? This came to me to teach me something, to grow, etc. So I just wanted to pass that on because these are life lessons, and GBL is a foundation to be used for life, in my opinion. And if the entire world came from this as a foundation, we would transform the world overnight.
That's so huge, right? Because when there's life coming around, you know, how to turn that around. I think that's a sign of evolved to a certain level to be able to do that, right? Instead of going down the spiral. Yeah, it's hard, it's tough, it's whatever. But when we are able to turn that around and say, hey, what is it God, universe, anybody wants us to learn here? Wow. And if you can actually feel the emotion of gratitude for that thing, haven't you come a long way? Congratulations. So, curious, Arnaldo, what are you hearing from all of the conversations here? What's happening in your space? What are you thinking or feeling?
Yeah, no, again, the importance of gratitude, the importance of taking life with gratitude in all aspects. And I love it how it's being applied from kids to anyone. It's reaffirming that this is what we need to do. We need to take this gratitude pill every day and remind us that every single thing we do, we gotta first, why are we thankful for what's happening and live through.
But you also had a little story to share.
Yeah, yeah. I'll
Would you
share
mind
it.
reading it
I'll
or sharing it?
basically started with, for my work, I work for a large utility here in the Northeast. And for my work, I was leading a very great, impactful opportunity project for my company that would impact environmental justice communities, would impact climate change in a positive way, would impact our financial results for the business, bringing economic revenues for the business so we can continue moving forward. And yet, challenge that I lived through was that one day I just received an email saying that leadership had decided to take a different approach and decided to cut the budget for that program and pull the plug. So at first I was very mad, frustrated to say the least. It was my baby that I was working on for 2 years. Imagine, guys, you have your project that you work for the entire year, and then your teacher says, "No, that's not great." So I was mad. But then I took a step back and further understood what was going on. Leadership took a decision without having all the insights or all of the information from everybody around, and especially me, that I was the project manager, and they did not approach me to understand what was the situation. And so I took a step back and said, all right, well, they took it from a being risk averse. They said, look, this is a little bit further out of the scope of the things that we do, and we are in a kind of a challenge, and we're in a pickle financially speaking. And so they decided to go down the traditional path, and which was, I was mad. But at the end, it's financially speaking, was a reasonable. If you don't have all the data, it was a reasonable decision. Because of that, I have a stable job. Because of that, I have a good work-life balance. Because of that, I can spend more time with my family, and I'm able to get into this car that I finally got, that I've been trying to get for many years. Taking that approach, like taking a step back, one day I was in the office and ran into the VP that gave us that email. And instead of approaching her and saying, look, why did you make that decision? I can't believe that happened. I said, look, thank you for being worried about the business. I want to know if you would have time to have a one-on-one to kind of further share and explain why did you make the decision. And she did, and I talked with her, and she gave me the opportunity, and she said, look, we can still go back, we can still reverse it. Let's just look at a positive business, let's look at a positive benefit cost analysis. Let's understand all the entire potential. Let's see how we can have a better impact for the business, bringing more resiliency to the electric grid, and let's put a plan together, and let's keep on moving it. So with that in mind, I set up a call with my manager, and we have plans to start getting the conversation moving and potentially get this project up and running again. So
wow, Arnaldo, isn't that some story?
Yeah.
Did you guys get it? This thing, when he accidentally met this person, if he had been this grumpy, negative entity, you think this would have happened? Not that likely, right? If you're there, demanding or telling or shouting or complaining, the other person goes into defense mode, right, and shuts off. So isn't it amazing that Arnaldo was able to make that shift before he was connecting with the person? And one thing that I would really like to stress here. Oh, sorry, Arnaldo, you need.
I was just gonna say it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. So I had to breathe, do a little bit of box breathing, and then talk to the person and say, "Hey, would love to talk with you." But yes, Henry, I agree, Henrik.
Did you notice this thing about the management didn't have all the information available, right? because they have not yet learned gratitude-based learning. Okay, they're not aware of this yet. They haven't incorporated, they haven't embraced this way of going about things. And it is key and center to gratitude-based learning to connect with those people that are affected by your decisions, whether it is putting compost bins at the school or whatever it is that you're doing. If you are not connected with the people involved, you don't have all the information available. Of course, you take your best decision based on what you have, but you need to be conscious about that you haven't yet gathered all the information from all the different perspectives or aspects that's there.
I would just like to mention that regarding what Arnaldo just said, the thing in between getting mad, which is totally understandable, and I think that's very important to recognize our emotions, like some things make us really mad. It's like the sooner you let go of those things, then the sooner you can deal with the situation. And basically, it's what, we call unattachment. Like, say, the moment that happens, then you create the space to move on and find whatever comes next. So I think that's a key part of the story there. And that's a wonderful story, Arnaldo. That's great, and congratulations to you for that.
It's wonderful hearing everybody's stories using different language. We talk a lot about indifference, indignation, spiritual practice, and it's very much what you guys are talking about, that we are all created in goodness and love, and the way we return that love is by living out what God is calling us to. And so part of that is you evaluate everything and see what is calling you closer to goodness or love and what is pulling you away. And that is different for each of us at different points in our life. And so it's an ongoing practice of being grateful first for what we have. And so that's what's ruminating in my brain. We're reading Hildegard of Bingen today, and she talks about everything being connected and penetrated with goodness. And to me, that's what I've heard through this conversation. So thank you so much for living that out and for sharing your stories.